So let me see. Let's see if this works. Yeah, I got this shit. Did you see that?
You were you? Did you transform into a horse, or were you riding that
No,
horse?
no. I was riding the horse. Ready? Look at my horse. My horse is amazing. Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller. I'm a writer, an interviewer, and a huge nerd, and a writer of amazing horses. Huh? Today I come back to you with more discussion of the story of Diablo 3. We finished our playthrough of Act 2 of Diablo 3 during 2 streaming sessions. If you want to check those out, I'll link to those in the description. And as soon as we finished playing, Julian and I started recording our discussion. We talked about the things we liked, what we didn't like about the story so far, and what we thought were missed opportunities that we would have done a little bit differently. That maybe we think could have made the story a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interesting, and delivered a little bit differently and maybe better, you know? Which of course is like easy to say, but like changing a game is a big deal. Making games, especially of this caliber and this quality, is hard, but you know, still, I'll be honest, I don't think Act 2 was the strongest part of the story. So that's what we talked about. So stay a while and listen. All right, hello. Well, as we're recording this, we literally just finished our playthrough of Act 2, and it's over?
So quick.
So quick. So we're jumping right into our discussion. Yeah, man. That was kind of weird. Felt like, there was all this kind of running around. I know that we kind of did do some more side quests this time. We were doing some more of the side dungeons, but it's sort of, okay, we got to get the pieces of like cool together. And then, okay, you do that, and then 2 fights and act over, right?
Right, it was really quick. And it wasn't exactly clear to me what we were doing. It felt like a lot of fetch quests. And just like, trust in Tyrael and trust in all these people we never really knew for long at least. And all these motives that they have. So I don't know. It felt very fast. It felt very like suddenly ended, and like it didn't really build up so much. But should we do the progress, promises, payoffs?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
So, yeah, promises. Okay, yeah, I guess like progress was kind of okay in that like they established you need to get these pieces of like Zoltan Cool, and we were doing that, but that felt more like gameplay promise than like story progress. Honestly, I think like a lot of this Act 2 story was weak. And a lot of like the way they delivered it was weak. Like so much of it was in those voiceover journals, which is like a cool concept, but I think those work so much better when they're just extra backstory than when they're the main story. Cuz it worked well in the previous act where it's sort of like retelling some of the events of Diablo 1. But now the Sultan Cool character, Z Cool, is brand new, and we don't know anything about him. And the way that we're supposed to learn from him is just these like kind of little voiceovers that are honestly hard to hear when there's a lot of all over the place,
Totally.
Yeah, and I think the payoff just felt in this whole act. The payoff felt bad. It was like, oh, it's over. Oh, okay. Right?
Totally. I mean, I think because the promises are weak, the progress feels like kind of aimless. Like, again, I'm just an errand boy, a legendary errand boy who can slay millions of monsters and stuff like that. Pretty effortlessly, by the way. And sure, I'll go, I guess, collect this guy's leg and this guy's, chest and his head and here and there. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think because the promises didn't feel good, the stakes didn't feel like they were well established. It just felt like we were moving from one place to the next. And, the background, the setting is kind of, it's losing its texture. It's not, I don't know. What do you think about the opportunities that were missed in the story itself?
Right. Well, just briefly in terms of like gameplay and we're slaying things. Yeah, I agree. I think that we're playing on normal difficulty, but I remember my memory of the game playing like at release was that it was a little bit harder, and I don't remember playing on anything harder than normal difficulty. In fact,
Right.
I'm pretty sure I didn't because you had to unlock the next difficulties by beating the game to begin with. But like we're getting these legendary items, which was not the case before. Like, so I think that they kind of adjusted the loot table to make things easier for one
Okay.
thing. But then, yeah, I mean, I know like I'm using some really powerful gems from my account, and so that helps. But at the same time, like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we could be playing it on harder difficulty and making it harder that way, but uh, yeah, maybe that's distracting from the story. I don't know. Like, I don't want to get bogged down in like in the gameplay either. I don't like it's nice that we're progressing through the game quickly, but like it feels too effortless to be epic, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like, yeah, we need, I don't know, maybe that is part of it. Maybe that is something we should sort of consider more. Like the it is a game, it is a story in an interactive sort of medium, not like a novel where you're kind of passively just consuming it all. This is something you're
Yeah.
involved in, and right? So I think maybe we should put away those gemstones, that are just like super powerful.
Maybe, yeah, like I could not only do that, but then also like all right, that's what we'll do for Act 3. I'll put away like all the good gear I have right now, and I'll just like run with just like whatever I can buy at the shop. All right, we'll do
Oh,
that
look
for
at
Act
you.
3. See if it changes things. Um, but yeah, missed opportunities. Okay, so the way the story kind of is happening now with Act 2 is we get to Act 2, we've got Adria, who's Leah's mother, we've got Tyrael with us, and there's this prince that kind of just keeps showing up sort of randomly, which is just weird but not really like addressed. It's just, how did you get here? But we know that like Belial, the Lord of Lies, is around. So at the end, like our character is like, "Hey, Belial, we know it's you." And it's like, "Oh, did we? Oh, okay." Like, um, so that's happening, and like Zoltan Kuhl is not introduced that well. I mean, they kind of are trying to give you a little bit more information about him over time, but it's not. Again, like there's not really any cutscenes. Like one of the things that was so cool in that first act was those like little in-game events. Like I mentioned the moment where Leoric is like with Lazarus and they're executing Leoric's wife for treason because
Right.
Leoric's gone crazy. That was a cool little cutscene, and I don't recall seeing. Well, cutscene. It wasn't a cutscene. It was an in-game event, but I don't recall seeing any like in-game events like this in all of Act 2. You know,
Yeah.
and that could have been cool. But so here's my idea with missed opportunities. So we have these iron wolves, and they're cool, and they used to be the like guards of the city, until the prince said, "Nah, take a hike." um, and we know now that that's Belial, and that's why he did that. But the Iron Wolves are like, well, no, we're not going to take a hike because we want to protect the people. So they stick around. Now, imagine if we had kind of interacted with the Iron Wolves more and they kind of join us on our quests more, the way like companions do. And there's more like dialogue with some of the Iron Wolves, and their whole mission is saving people. But then also like we start hearing from them like, oh, Zoltan Kuhl, like he was bad news, because again, as we were playing, you were alluding to like how these people in this area who have gone through this probably generational struggle to try to stop Zoltan Kuhl, like they're cool. they're cool with us being like,
Right.
no, we're bringing him back alive. It would have been so cool if the Iron Wolves had been like, you cannot do that. And then
Exactly.
you potentially could have had Tyrael being like, no, we're doing it because this is our only option. We need that Black Soul Stone. Like,
Right. Create some conflict in the alliance, right? Make it, I don't know, like a little problem that needs to be resolved there. Win over your allies. But yeah, no, we got none of that. And what's also interesting is that like you would think the sort of police force of this place would have some insight as to like what the hell happened or why they were all dismissed or what's going on, you know. And
Right.
instead there's no story there. There's no you know,
Right.
insight or side quest, at least that we saw, that sort of took that up, that
Right.
opportunity and took a hold of that entire sort of that aspect of the story to really give more texture to the world.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're not suspicious about their dismissal. Everyone like apparently knows that Belial is around, but doesn't look for lies. You know, he's supposed to be the Lord of Lies. Find the liars. You know.
Exactly. And here we are, surrounded by them. And
Yeah.
no one's really doing too much. But yeah, no, I like that idea. I think it would add some spiciness to the story, create some morally gray area where you as a player has to, you know, maybe you have to choose, you know, one decision over the other that makes one outcome more likely or this or that, you know, and you don't really get that. It's like there are many missed opportunities I felt in Act 2.
Yeah. Well, what other? Yeah. Can you expand even more on like other missed opportunities you think of?
Well, I felt like they could have done more with Zoltan Kuhl. I mean, besides everything you said before about like the weirdness of like how that story was told, or the fact that we're getting it in these like like we're finding his book, his
Right.
journal, and then he's reading it to us, which is like that kind of breaks the immersion of the world, because he's actually a spirit that we're, you know,
Right.
collecting his body parts around. How is he reading the book to us?
And he
So I
also
don't know.
keeps his spirit keeps following us around and being like, "Hey, yo, let me tell you a story."
You want some drugs? You want some drugs? You know. So I don't know. It I felt like there could have been more done with him. Like you could have explained why people were out to, you know, really put him
Stop him,
away.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we get the sense that yeah, he's a bad guy. I get it. The world in this setting is very Manichean, but I think complicating it a bit more gives it more texture and interest. And so I think if they could have done something like that with Zoltan Kuhl, I think that would have been dope. Or just like at the very end, I didn't quite understand why he couldn't actually complete the thing that he had been trying to do that whole time.
Right. So he created this black soul stone, which I guess like timeline I think is weird there, because I think they said it's supposed to be like way long ago, but like Diablo was only captured in the soul stones like 200 years ago or something. Whatever. Who cares? Anyway. But yeah, he created this black soul stone, and it's supposed to be an improvement on the other soul stones. How is it an improvement? Well, because it can just capture more demons, more lords of hell. Okay, cool. I mean, that's fine. But then it kind of like alluded. Okay, well, what happens in the game is we get Zoltan Kuhl to get his body again so that we can get the black soul stone, because we want to go capture the demons. And then he's there for like a moment in his body, and he's like, I'm going to be the most powerful and like take over the world or whatever. And he tries to do something with his soul stone that would, you know, some magic. And he's like, oh, weird, that didn't work. Turns out there's already demons in there. How'd that happen? Well, I guess I'll fight you now. Right? And
He
it
was like, oh man, my thumb drive ran out of space. Never mind.
Right. Well, yeah, and it was very like very quick and not explained very well of like, you know, as you were saying, like what even happened there? Like why wasn't he able to do the thing that he was trying to do? What was he trying to do with the soul stone? I guess he was trying to use its power some way to become like the most powerful Nephilim, which is like a superhuman, but it wasn't nearly as clear as it could have and should have been.
No, totally. I thought it was very weak, which is kind of a shame, because I thought Act 1 was formulaically like solid, but insofar as interesting or whatnot, I feel like it's a good start, but I felt like there could have been more there, and Act 2 is not delivering on the follow-up, you know? You think you want to kind of, you know, start just to lay the foundations and then come and hook people and really get them into the world and everything. And this just creates more ambiguities, and I felt like I don't feel like I understand the world more. I feel like I understand it less. It makes less sense to me now, which is not a good sign, I think. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that's totally fair. And yeah, but I guess we've captured Belial in this Black Soul Stone, and I guess there's like some other Lords of Hell in it also. That was kind of alluded to, but not specified really. But whatever. So now I guess Asmodan is going to be who we're after. But we don't really know much about what to expect there. They're not really like creating a lot of promises other than like, okay, Asmodan's this great tactician. He's going to kind of try to attack us and where it's going to hurt the most. But yeah, not really. We know we're going to have to go attack Asmodan, but like we don't. Well, okay, here's the promise. We're going to try to capture Asmodan in the Black Soul Stone. Okay.
yeah, I feel like Tyrael needs to give us more cutscenes. Yeah, at the very least.
Tyrael needs to just pull those out of his pocket.
He's like, all right, bro, this is why this matters. You know, this is why what you're doing here is important. Like, yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with heroes and your protagonists doing all kinds of mundane little tasks. That's part of the progress, you know, as long as you feel like you're moving towards something bigger, that's what matters. And I feel like they're not giving us enough of like, well, Tyrael, what's your plan, my dude? I mean, you took off your wings. You're now a damn mortal, just as weak as any one of us. Why? What were you thinking? Like, how are we going to do this stuff? And it's just like, no, you don't have to know. Just keep throwing your ceramic pots, you witch doctor. and you'll get there eventually.
By the way, Tyrael, why are we doing all the dirty work? Like, why don't you kind of get in there and swing that sword, buddy? You know?
Yeah. I mean, come on. You'd think some of his powers would carry over. Just some of it, at the very least, you know? So.
Yeah. Now, good elements. I will say I did think the little bit where we had to go, like, save the refugees before we can go to Belial, that was actually kind of cool. That was nice heroic stuff there, you know?
Yeah, that was actually fun. And I loved it because I had like an army of people behind me. We were gonna start the pickets to not resurrect Zoltan Kulle.
Got your posse,
yeah,
already.
I was about to form up the petition, my dude. You know, like,
yeah.
They just had to run into the sewers for their own safety. It makes sense. So I couldn't get around to it. You know?
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't feel ethically wrong that we resurrected someone who wanted to enslave the entire geographical area, but that's because we beat his ass, you know? And maybe if we hadn't beat his ass, I think we would have caused a bad problem.
Right.
And we wouldn't be heroes.
That decision. Yeah.
So whatever.
Fair.
This goes to tell you guys, okay? As long as you can beat people's asses, you can do whatever you want, apparently.
Is that the rule? That's the rule?
You know, power makes right, might makes right. What? How's it go again?
Honestly, that is kind of true in most fiction, isn't it?
Yeah, which is like, okay. For the sake of story, I get it. But, you know, let's be responsible people here.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like that refugee thing, but honestly, I'm trying to think of like other strengths of the story here in Act 2, and it's like, you know.
I mean, I think it's the idea that, you know, what's funny is that this whole Belial stuff reminds me of that scene from Marvel where like Loki, everyone finds out that Loki's actually Odin's son, and you know, whatever. It's Loki's a lot more of a jokester and whatever, but this kind of reminded me of that kind of thing. And I think there is an interesting concept behind that. I mean, whatever. I didn't mean to dumb it down to Marvel's, you know, sort of rendition of this, but I do think...
Let's not poo-poo Marvel, all right? Let's
You're right. I'm so sorry, fans. It's not like...
I like Marvel. I'm the fan.
I've watched it all, okay? So don't even come at me, bro.
Okay.
But it is an interesting, to Blizzard's credit, I do think that like a child king who is, doing funny business in their court is an interesting political intrigue kind of a thing, and I just wish they had taken more of a, stab at that stuff, like a very Game of Thrones moment that you could have, made interesting there, and it just didn't. But yeah, I give him credit for even considering that idea and using Belial as like this like hidden child that's kind of guiding, kind of an ambiguous kind of supportive character for us for Act 2. So, it's an interesting spin at the very end. But even still, it would still question Belial's entire effort there, but whatever.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, there were actually some cool ideas here. Again, like the Iron Wolves and, Belial, Lord of Lies. But it's just kind of a lot of the like execution just sort of fell a little short. Didn't kind of deliver on what could have been,
Right. All right. The gameplay though continues to be pretty great.
Very true. What's your favorite ability now?
I mean, my fetish army is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like a little vignette where like we're all like done slaying a bunch of monsters and stuff like that, and
it's just you and the fetishes like having,
and we're in this, no, not even that, but like we're cooking and like the knife broke and I can't cut my meat, and I'm like, damn it, fetish army, come here, and they all have like little butcher knives, and I'm like, give me your knife, go away, thank you.
It's like, you and me after everything, and we're like, we should get some shawarma.
Exactly. There you go. And see, that's, I mean, very cozy, very cozy, fantastical stuff here. But but I like it, and it's a nice thing.
Yeah. Can you guess which is my favorite new ability?
Is it the flaming horse?
Look at my horse is on fire.
I love how, I mean, it's a great effect, and it's awesome. I wish I had one, but it's also like almost useless, right?
So yes, but I keep using it as a travel skill. It has like kind of a longish cooldown for this game. It's like 2 or 3 seconds, which does feel long when you're actually playing. But with that flames, it actually does like 500% weapon damage. So like it can do some damage. Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't know the flames actually cause damage.
The flames actually cause damage.
Wow. Okay.
Plus, like, you can just like run right through monsters when you're on that horse, I guess. So I should probably use that more. But that's I do also love the Captain America shield. So
that is pretty cool. No, that is cool.
I did turn that off in favor of this other ability, but I think it's going to go back to the Captain America shield because it's just aesthetically pleasing.
There are moments in the game where we like run into a crowd and then like an explosion happens. Is that you or is that the Necromancer?
Well, so it wasn't the Necromancer tonight because he wasn't playing with us, but
that's right.
So if I have another ability that like drops a pillar or for a second, and it kind of spreads some like lightning and kills things. So yeah, okay. That one's been pretty powerful.
No, I mean I'm loving the gameplay. I hope the story really picks up. We're halfway through at this point, and it feels like
sweet.
I feel like I could spend more time in the university.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. I just feel like, I don't know. They're not, I'm worried. I'm worried for Act 3. I'm worried for Act 4.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how you like things. I'm kind of remembering where we're going with Act 3 and Act 4, so.
Okay. All right. But I'll keep an open mind. That's for sure.
Yeah. But we're cranking through it, so very good. Well, I think we're definitely going to finish this before Diablo 4 comes out, so.
That's good. That's
right?
Good. Yeah. Just on time.
All right, my dude. Well, I'll see you again on Tuesday, and we'll get into Act 3.
All right. Sounds good, brother.
All right.
Peace out.
And thank you for watching.